So an amount of money was invested for 8 years. It earned compound interest at 2.5% per year. After 8 years, the total value of the investment was 11,696.67. Tom is trying to work out the total interest earned, and he uses this method. State what's wrong with his method. So, firstly, we need to talk about the difference between simple and compound interest. So, if we had simple interest, say I put £500 in a bank account, and to make this easy, let's say we get paid 10% interest per year. Banks never pay that much anymore, unfortunately, but let's do this for simplicity's sake. So what this means is that at the end of the first year, I have £500 in my account, and I get paid an extra £50 because 10% of 500 is 50. And if it's simple interest, then in the second year I get paid another £50 as long as I haven't made any withdrawals. In the third year I get paid another £50 and so on. But with compound interest, what happens is that this amount and this amount is added together. So by the second year I get paid 10% of the £550 that I have in my account now. So 10% of £550 means that I get paid £55 in interest. So rather than the amount of interest staying the same, with compound interest it gets bigger and bigger because I'm getting paid the interest on the interest that I already earned in the last year. So with simple interest, you just take the amount of interest and times it by 8. With compound interest, you don't. So with this one, he is just timesing by 8. So you could say something like he's working out simple interest rather than compound interest. And the other thing to note is when we're dealing with compound interest, we do it to the power of something. So you could say that we should have done 8 to the power. So you could say the 8 should be a power, and I'll explain more about this in the second part of this question. Okay, so either of those would be fine for the mark. Part B, work out the total interest earned. So an amount of money was invested for 8 years. So the way compound interest works is you have an amount of money, so it might be £1,000, and you're getting paid 2.5% per year. So if we think about a way of working out the percentage increase, our original amount of money, which is 100%, has been increased by 2.5% because we've been paid 2.5% in interest. So 100 add 2.5 is 102.5%, and 102.5% means out of 100. So this divided by 100 is 1.025. That is a multiplier. So in other words, if I just do my initial investment, which I don't know, multiplied by 1.025, that will increase it by 2.5%. Now, with compound interest, I need to take that to the power of n, which stands for the number of years. So, if I was trying to work this out for 2 years, the original amount, I would times it by 1.025 to find out how much I have after the first year. And then with my answer, I would then times it by 1.025 again. But a quicker way of doing my answer and then times it by 1.05 again is just to do the initial investment times 1.025 squared. And we use this formula where it's the power of n. So if we were working out after 10 years, it would be to the power of 10. So it says in the question, after 8 years, the total value was this. So we need to include this information. So the initial investment multiplied by 1.025% 1.025, which is 2.5% increase to the initial investment, to the power of 8. That is now 11,696.67. So let's write that down. And we're trying to work out what the initial investment was, and then that will help us work out what the interest was that we earn. So let's work backwards. If I do that divided by this, it's a bit like solving an equation. So I want to get x on its own. You need to do the opposite. So divide this by all of that. So x equals that. Let's do this into the calculator. That gives me 9,600, and even if we rounded it to 2 decimal places, it's still 0, 0. So 9,600 is the initial investment. So we want the total interest earned as one last stage. That's how much we've got now. That's how much we had. So if we now subtract those two, so 11,696.67 minus that amount, that gives us the interest earned, so 2,096.67.